Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Andrew. I am the owner of this Model S that we are sitting in currently. I'm joined with Mehul and Caleb currently.
That's me.
Yeah, that's Caleb. Caleb and Mehul have some questions for me as a Tesla owner, and I'm sure that these may be some of the questions that you guys wonder about on a daily basis. So they're going to try and stump me as a Tesla owner by asking me a barrage of questions and see if I can answer and give somewhat intelligent responses to their questions. So here we go.
All right, Andrew, so how does it feel with owning a Tesla with 69,000 miles on the car?
Great question, Mehul. So the biggest thing that I think a lot of people worry about with ICE cars, so internal combustion engine ICE, is obviously that the engine does degrade a little bit over time with adding miles and stuff like that. I've seen a couple different facts and figures, and I'm by no means an engineer, so I don't want to cite anything in particular, but I do know that over time engines lose efficiency with, because you're literally controlling a small explosion inside that piston when it drives it. That's going to wear on the metal over time.
It's true.
With a Tesla, however, you're not really at the same kind of risk, or there's not the same sort of wear and tear. So everything that's going through the engine is just current. It's electric current. And basically just little particles running across a wire doesn't degrade nearly as quickly as massive explosions happening inside of a piston.
Correct.
So to give you some perspective, Mehul, I drove a 2016 Tesla Model S, and it was a dealer car. Obviously I went to a dealership and tried it out, or actually Tesla doesn't have a dealership, it was a gallery car. You go to their gallery and try it out. There was no discernible difference driving this car from that one. They drive the exact same, the acceleration is the exact same, the feel is the exact same. So to your question, what kind of degradation, what does it feel like driving it at 69,000 miles? It feels honestly just like how it was when it drove off production line. So
yeah, that's awesome. Cool. I got another question for him.
Yeah, sure.
What do you really like about the car? What's like your top one or two things that you think people would like to know? And then if there's anything at all that you actually dislike about it, let us know.
Sure. So the fun, as I'm sure you guys have seen, if you haven't seen the Tesla acceleration and driving around video, live drive video, then this car is a beast when it comes to acceleration. Since we don't have a engine block that goes to a transmission to the drive shaft, you don't have that kind of drop down in efficiency at every single point. You literally just get instant torque out of the engine. The engine sits right next to the wheels, it drives the drive shaft directly, and then the car just goes. So this thing hauls, and that's the eternal joy that I have of driving this car, is just when you get off the line and you're smoking Mustangs and Bentleys and all those other cars that are supposed to have some get up and go, and you can do it in this little guy that runs on volts electricity. That's a really great feeling. Secondly, I just believe in Tesla's dream. I believe in Elon's vision for a sustainable future, so it's a privilege in a way. Well, I don't want to sound pretentious, but it's almost like a privilege, or you're kind of an early adopter of this technology, and getting to drive around and be a part of that is great. Now, you asked about some things that I maybe am not so fond of, and that's kind of a double-edged sword, that last point. So you are early adopters, so there are some kinks and some things that they're still ironing out, because electric vehicle technology is a fairly new concept in the grand scheme of things. So you'll notice little things here and there. Sometimes it'll beep at you or do something weird, and you're just like, holy crap, this thing's beeping at me, I don't know what to do. But I will say that Tesla has been there for me every single time. I've been able to call their support anytime. They're always happy to help. Again, it's part of being a family, so being in the Tesla family takes care of family, and any problems that I have, I know that they take care of for me. So
very nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So what do you think Tesla should add to this model specifically, or to improve on this model specifically?
Yeah, so the Model S is obviously in a couple different iterations. This is a 2013, and since 2013 they've brought a lot of new features like Autopilot and things like that. On this particular model, it's really hard to say. This is honestly my dream car. I'm blessed beyond belief to drive it at the age that I'm at, and it's just it's the perfect interior. This is the exact interior I want, the exact exterior I want, all the features. So I know I'm kind of biased, but I honestly can't think of anything that I would add to this car that hasn't been added by Tesla already. So I know that's really a non-answer, but
that's true. That massive display is pretty amazing, pretty spot on, more than anyone can probably ask for.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, if it's your dream car and you get everything you want out of it, that is all that matters.
Yep, exactly.
Awesome. Cool. I have another question for you. So, Autopilot, you know, that this word goes around everywhere, especially when you're talking about Teslas, when you're talking about electric cars. Does this have it? If it doesn't, what do you have to get the autopilot? You know, how does that work?
Yeah, so to preface that, obviously autopilot and autonomous driving are a big topic right now, and we could spend a whole hour video on it. I'm happy to do that for you guys, by the way. As a computer scientist, I enjoy talking about this stuff. But the Autopilot is Tesla's foray into self-driving and autonomous cars. So this particular model, the 2013, was just the baseline Model S. Shortly thereafter, Tesla introduced what was called Autopilot 1.0. And what that looks like is on the Tesla or the Model S, there are a number of different sensors around the car. These sensors are a combination of infrared, LiDAR, radar, all those different sensors. And they allow you to build this kind of bubble around the car. So there's kind of this like circle, if you can imagine it, or this kind of radar circle around the car. And when you break that circle, it's kind of like your personal bubble. You know how you talk about that in kindergarten, that sort of thing. When you break the Tesla's personal bubble, that data is continuous and it streams into the car's computer. At that point, the car takes that data into account and it allows it to kind of predict, you know, there's a car coming up on the left of me, so it'll show you on the display, hey, there's a car on the left of you. And that coupled with, you know, smart cruise control, so it's using the sensors to speed up and slow down, allows you to basically sit in the car and allow it to drive forward and backward, and you can even do lane changing on it. So you flip your blinker on, it'll check the areas on your left and your right, and then it'll transition into that lane for you. That's Autopilot 1.0, or what they call the convenience feature Autopilot. Autopilot 2.0 is Tesla saying, hey, Autopilot 1.0 was a pretty good success. We've got some good stuff. Let's take it one step better. Let's do another iteration. So Autopilot 2.0 is where we start to talk about fully self-driving capability. So with Autopilot 2.0, they added a bunch of extra sensors as well. And in addition to Autopilot 2.0, there's another option that you can get called full self-driving. So that doubles the number of sensors with the Autopilot 2.0 hardware. And in theory, when legislation passes and allows for fully self-driving cars, Autopilot 2.0 with full self-driving capacity cars can drive fully autonomously. So that is to say, without, you know, a driver at the wheel in theory, but obviously there's probably a year or two of learning curve after those laws pass for us to really figure out what does autonomous vehicle and, you know, self-driving cars look like at scale. So to answer your question, Caleb, the Autopilot 1.0 hardware, or Autopilot, is two different segments. There's Autopilot 1.0 and Autopilot 2.0. Autopilot 1.0 had those convenient features, which is like, you know, smart cruise control, things like that. Autopilot 2.0 doubles the number of, or greatly increases the number of sensors, I should say. It also has the option for full self-driving, which in the future will allow you to drive your car without you even being there, in theory. So that's Autopilot.
That's sweet.
That's sweet. So, another question.
Sure.
So, as a Tesla owner, what question do you get asked the most?
Great. So the question I probably get the most is, well, what is it? And to that, I'm like, it's a Tesla. But so a lot of it's like, okay, actually, this is the true to the word number one question I get. How much range do you get out of your car? So there's obviously a couple different SKUs of battery. So there's the 60, the 85, the 90 kilowatt, the 100 kilowatt Teslas. Those are, whenever you see that number, it designates the battery size of the car, or how much, you know, power can you put into the battery and have reserved there for driving the car. On the 85, which is the one that I have, I get about 250 miles theoretically peak, but on any given day, I usually only charge it up to around 230. So anywhere between 230 and 250 is where I get my car. Now, obviously, if you go up or down, obviously your range will vary a little bit. But to the number one question that I get, which is, you know, how much range do you get? It's usually between or around 230 to 250 miles on a full charge. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I actually did.
Perfect.
That's awesome.
Another question that I get a lot is, you know, how long does it take to charge, which is kind of involved with the battery, obviously. And to charge my car at home takes anywhere from around, if I was just at a really low charge, like say I only had 50 miles left to charge it back up, would be around 24 hours. But obviously, you know, there's different charging stuff. Obviously, if you're charging at home, you can't supply as much power as you could at a Tesla supercharger station, which is something we can talk about later. So it all just depends on how much power you're putting into the car and how quickly the car can take on that power to charge up.
Okay, Andrew, so you told me about a Tesla in California with 300,000 miles. Is that correct?
Yeah, I can totally understand why your reaction is what it is, because 300,000 miles, you think on a combustion car, that's like it's on its last legs. If you're
Yeah.
it's dead. Caleb said rightly. But no, with the Model S, obviously, or with it being an electric car and everything like that, they had a Model S out in California, or I was reading this in an article. They had a Model S out in California that was part of a taxi service, so it would just run up and down the coast all day long. And so it racked up 300,000 miles and 91% efficiency still left on the battery.
Can you jumpstart a Tesla?
Great question. So to that, I will kind of preface, when you jumpstart a combustion engine car, at least to my understanding, it's to kind of get the machinery and everything rolling, just to, you know, get you to a gas station or a service station to get a new battery. With a Tesla, obviously, if you run out of battery, either through, you know, just leaving it for a while, say you're at the airport and it drains over the 2 or 3 weeks that you're gone, or whatever the reason may be, there are ways to kick the car on just long enough to throw it in neutral so you can put it on a tow truck, but you can't sort of just jolt it and like give it enough charge to start running again. Because remember, everything is battery at this point, everything is power, so no power in the tanks means the car literally cannot run, so you got to get it to a charging station either via tow truck or some other means.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome.
So hold on, I had another one.
I thought we had that still.
No, it didn't catch. It didn't
Oh,
capture
that was
it.
after?
Yeah. I had another weird one. Okay, maintenance wise.
Sure,
okay.
maintenance.
So tell me more about the maintenance that you gotta do for a Tesla, like versus you can't, no more oil changes or transmission fluid change, radiator. So tell me what maintenance got to be done for this.
Sure. So the joke between Tesla owners and Tesla is that there's 3 things that you have to replace on a Tesla. It's just brakes, windshield wiper fluid, and tires. Obviously.
Okay.
Yeah, I think windshield wiper blades are in there too, technically, but to say the least, a very, very minuscule amount of things to replace compared to other cars. And as you mentioned, you know, there's no kind of engine or that sort of thing, so you don't have to worry about maintaining that. Tesla does have a service sort of calendar that they want you to follow, so every couple thousand miles, 6,000-8,000, they want you to take it to the service center, get it checked out. But like the car in California, 300,000 miles, that guy just drove up and down. I don't know what kind of service they were doing on it, but yeah, it can run, and whenever you find a problem, you just kind of address it then.
Dang, okay.
That's awesome.
With the Tesla model itself, so I know the P100D has this. Does this have Ludacris Plus mode?
Yeah. So Ludacris Mode, that's a fun little snippet to talk about. To answer your question, this one does not. So the Ludacris Mode is only available on the performance model, so the P85, P85D, P100D. Okay. What Ludacris Mode does is it basically overdrives the mode, or at least my understanding of this, again, you know, I don't work at Tesla, so these are just what I understand it, not the gospel truth from Elon and his team. What I understand Ludacris Mode to be is that it overdrives the AC motor, or it puts the AC motor past the sort of standard rating or the safe rating, so obviously that's going to degrade the battery because it's pushing more than normal power to the motor, and it's going to degrade the motor a little bit quicker just because it's running a little bit quicker. But if you've seen the reaction videos on YouTube, it's just bar none. Like, it is totally worth it to throw it into Ludacris Mode for a few minutes and just floor it. So to your question, sadly I don't have Ludacris Mode on this one, but it is awesome, and it is every bit as awesome as people describe it.
For sure.
Have you done it?
I have not particularly, not personally, but I have seen, like I said, I've seen videos online. I know a couple friends or a couple owners who have the P100D or the P90D, and they say they love it to death, so it's amazing. Alrighty guys, so if you enjoyed this video asking questions, or if you have some questions that didn't get answered in this video, feel free to leave them down in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe as well. That way, whenever we do part 2, if you guys come up with enough questions, part 2 is coming, by the way. That way you can have your questions answered by myself and we can talk about it. And yeah, make sure to subscribe and like so that whenever the video does come out, you can see it and bask in the glory that your question made it onto the show. So thanks again, guys. I appreciate you tuning in. Caleb, Mahul, anything else on that point?
No, man, you said it all.
Yeah, thank you so much for all your time today.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Yeah, no,
Peace.